So, episode 2,
Whoop whoop.
if you still are here with us, we appreciate you. I just want to tell a little story. Real quick, dishonorable mentions. Since we last recorded, the bitch who lied on Emmett Till died. Woo
Thankfully.
woo! Yeah,
Hopefully it was slow and painful.
right. Unfortunately for Emmett's mom, she died in 2003, and the lady didn't admit that she was a liar until 2008. So
Yeah.
that's fucking gross. But I will say all three of them, the two dudes who did the shit and then the bitch that lied, all got cancer and died slowly. So
Yeah, karma. That's what they get.
yeah, quick story. I made a Reddit because I'm like, I don't like to see all them big girls on 600-pound life and stuff with the feeder boyfriends. So I was like, let me go see if I can get someone to order me a pizza. You know,
Oh
I'm
my
cute.
god.
I post one picture. I got so many inboxes. Nobody wanted to send me money though. They were all asking me super weird and invasive questions like, "How big do you shit?"
I don't know what that has to do with feet.
No, like fat people, fat feeders.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
gross.
Yeah,
Why
super
are
weird.
people into stuff like that? Come on, man.
I was so
Oh.
disgusted. I went ahead and deleted the app. So yeah, I'm not
You said that's
gonna.
enough for me. I'm good. Saw
Yeah.
what it's all about. I don't need it. Never mind.
Well, I even tried to respond and be like, "Order me a pizza. I'll show you."
Oh god.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that again. Anyway, speaking of pieces of shit, the Cabo Six is who I'm bringing to the table today.
Yeah, I'm excited because I don't know nothing about this, so I'm coming in blind.
Yeah, I actually was not keeping up with this story when it was viral. I went through a little phase where I was like, let me stay out of the news headliners because it's going to piss me off. I don't like to wait for information.
Correct.
But now that we have most of the information that I think that we need, let's get it started. So Shanquella Robinson was 25. She's from Charlotte, North Carolina. Not married, no children. She was in college. Winston-Salem University alumni student. Super bright. Close to both of her parents. Parents still together. She was a hairstylist. Successful enough to where they traveled internationally and took friends. You know what I mean? They were like a good solid little family. So on October 28th, 2022, her and five friends that she goes to school with went to Cabo, Mexico, and then the next day one of them was flying in to meet them, and his name is Nazir. So there's Shanquella, and then here's who the Cabo Six are: Dejanay Jackson, Khalil Cook, Malik Dyer, Nazir Wiggins, Elise Hyatt, and Winter Donovan. All of them are going to college together, allegedly. That's what I read. But Khalil Cook was the main one who was like inseparable from Shanquella. That was her quote quote best friend. Like he went on family trips with Shanquella and her parents and stuff like that. So he was, always around. It's also said that Shanquella met all of these other people through Khalil. Nazir and Dejanay's birthdays were why they were going to Mexico. They were going to celebrate. They went and stayed in a big private villa with a private chef and a driver and stuff. The night of October 28th, Shanquella called her mom to say the place was beautiful. She's having fun already. They're getting to eat taco salad or something like that because their private chef was preparing their food. The mom said, "Okay, I love you. Have a good night. Call me tomorrow." They talked regularly, and her mom never talked to her again. So, what happened?
That's like my
Face,
worst fear.
especially
Yeah.
international, like everything's different. You have to like, oh my gosh, it's a mess. So the Facebook post, Shanquella posted like the food on her story, like showed off highlights of the room. They had like a pool in their villa and stuff, and like the food and drinks and everything. So they said that she was drinking pretty heavily the night of the 28th. Later on, a couple hours later, somebody posted her on her story sleeping, and it was a boy. We don't know who exactly it was, but Nazir was not there yet, so it had to be either Khalil or Malik. He was recording her sleeping. He said, "We got our first dead body, 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 body." That's how he
Uh,
said it. Like,
that's weird.
I've drank. I've been around a lot of people who party.
Nope.
I've never heard anybody being drunk, passed out, described as a dead body. It's super weird, especially when, ironically, you really died the next morning or afternoon.
Yeah, that's so he should be suspect number one, just saying.
Yeah. After that, Shanquella was in the pool, naked, skinny dipping in their villa pool. They were all supposed to skinny dip, but somebody was recording her in the pool and it got posted. Like from the backside, you couldn't see anything. Shanquella, a little bit after that, posted walking through the house, like you showing the house off pretty much, saying like, "Where are my friends at? It don't take that long to get naked." Walking through this big, huge ass villa. She finally found them all in one room dressed.
That's weird.
And yeah, and so that was the last that anybody saw on Facebook. And later that afternoon, Shanquella's mom gets a call from one of the friends and says Shanquella has alcohol poisoning. She was sick, not doing so well. The doctor hadn't arrived at that point, so that was their own diagnosis. But they described Shanquella as resting and not responding to anybody. The mom was like, "Well, why didn't you take her to the emergency room? She has insurance." They said they needed 5,000 cash to be seen. They don't take that kind of insurance. So I don't know if she
I don't feel like
had.
that's accurate.
Well, so recently I saw somebody say something about like travelers insurance on Twitter. They were saying like it's worth it if you're going to travel internationally to get insured. And there were a couple people commenting saying that like it can take a while, so they'll ask you for like a deposit of a couple thousand or something like that. So I don't really understand the whole
Alright,
international
so I'm not
insurance
leaving the
thing.
country ever.
Right. Yeah, I've never been, so I don't know. Yeah, so they called the doctor to come check on her at the house, and Mrs. Robinson said, "Okay, keep me informed." They called her back and said, "Yeah, it's still alcohol poisoning." Later on that day, they called her again and said Shanquella had passed away from the alcohol poisoning. So,
Damn. Pump her stomach. I mean, also, what kind
right.
of friends let you drink to that point?
Mrs. Robinson then got a random phone call like the next day from somebody who was like watching their story and stuff, and that said they were down there fighting, but like the video must have gotten posted and then deleted. Somebody had the video though, screen recorded. The friends caught the next flight home and left Shanquella in Mexico. They brought they brought Mrs. Robinson her stuff and gave condolences, retold the story. They were coming to see Mrs. Robinson for like 3 or 4 days, all adamant that there was no fight. And they were eating food, like their food together and like fake grieving with her, telling the same story to both of the parents. Like, so the mom just didn't understand why would somebody call me and say you guys were down there fighting and everybody's here saying that there was no fight. Mr. Robinson had to pay $6,000 or so to get her body back to America. And the first autopsy that was performed in Mexico stated that Shanquella had no alcohol poisoning, and not only that, but very little alcohol was in her system. This autopsy stated that her cause of death was injury and that her spinal cord was broken and she had atlas luxation, which is trauma to your C1 and C2 cervical spine, aka your
Yeah,
neck. Her spinal cord and her neck was allegedly broken.
that's
The video
drastically different from alcohol poisoning.
the video then surfaced of allegedly Khalil, her best friend, quote, quote, recording Dejanay
Yeah.
beating Shanquella up in the villa room while Shanquella was naked.
Friends
And
like that, who needs enemies?
yeah, Khalil said, like, "Quella, can you at least fight back?" And Shanquella literally said no, like she didn't want to fight. Her parents said that she doesn't fight. She's not a fighter. She didn't want to fight.
I don't think
So
she went to Cabo to fight.
right. She in the video, Dejanay swung her, knocked her down. Dejanay kept saying, "Get up, bro, I'm tired of your shit." And she was fully dressed still, like bonnet on, not even getting ready to go skinny dipping. So she just kept continuing to like beat on Shanquella. And then the clip stopped. She was sitting up, like with her legs extended. Her back didn't look broken because she was holding her weight up at the end of the video. But then who knows what happened when the video cut off? Because if you're inseparable and you're so close to this girl, you're going on family trips with her, like why are you recording her getting beat up and not even fighting back? I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's not in the description of a friend. I hope
Yep.
neither of my kids ever make friendships like that. Do you think nobody's gonna learn the truth? You said alcohol poisoning. That's so very
Exactly.
different. I've been drunk a lot to the point where I've thought I've had alcohol poisoning, but never during that time was my spinal cord severed.
Yeah, so that's where stuff gets flighty. So here's the timeline.
Just a closed case, homicide.
Yeah, Mexico ended up releasing a warrant for the person who was like beating on Shanquella in the video, but the timeline that Mr. Robinson gave was that they got this call. He had to pay 6,000 to get her body back. The friends were there telling the same story. Somebody called and said like no, they were down there fighting. They all continuously denied it, like at their house eating their food in their face. Then when the funeral happened, he walked in and when he saw her in the casket, they didn't see because you can't, it's not like they're going to deliver the body to his house, so they're sending from Mexico medical examiner to North Carolina. So he walked in and saw her like after she'd already been embalmed and ready for the funeral. He said her eye was swollen, she had a cut on her lip, and she had a knot on her head. So he asked the lady like what was her cause of death, and that's when he found out no, the death certificate says that her cause of death was injury, spinal cord, and her neck was broken. The English-speaking female doctor who was there to help translate, check on Shanquella, like the FBI at this point is involved because it's an international thing. So
Yeah.
she told her side of the story. She said that when she checked on Shanquella, she told the friend she needed to go to the hospital, and the friend said no. If the friends said no because they wanted her to die or because they had already tried that and bumped into the insurance issue, we don't know because nobody's talking. So this doctor said she was called around 2:30. It took an hour to get there. Shanquella was allegedly semi-conscious and not responding to 14 sessions of CPR. They even gave her an IV in case she did have alcohol poisoning, and the doctor declared her dead around 5:30, 5:45. The thing is that medical examiner who did the autopsy in Mexico said that this person died 15 minutes after the injury. From injury to death, it was 15 minutes.
So they basically took her dead body to the hospital?
Well, so they didn't take her to the hospital. A doctor came with
Oh,
paramedics, with
okay.
police, and so yeah. So the doctor saying that she was called around 2:30. There was another autopsy performed, and I'll get to that in a second. But the attack happened between 7 and 7:30 on October 29th that morning, and she wasn't called until 2:30. Took an hour to get there, so around 3:30, and then she wasn't pronounced dead till a little after 5:30. So we're looking at like 10 and a half hours later.
That's
Uh,
disgusting.
yeah. So Nazir, who did not fly in until the next day, he went live on Instagram to try to like clear his name. He said he got there. His flight landed at 2:15 to 2:30. And he got there at 3:15. He didn't know that there was ever even a fight. So when he arrived, they said she's in the game room. She wasn't feeling good. He went right to her, put her on her side, and got a bag for her to throw up in. He put on soft music and was like rubbing on her head a little bit to wait for the nurse or medical whoever. He confirmed that she was not dead, but she also wasn't responding because he was trying to get her to like talk to him.
Right.
So there's like a lot of weird stuff, and the fact that they lied and they were adamant about it being alcohol poisoning and saying that there was no fight, and then the video of the fight resurfaced because somebody screen recorded it. After the video surfaced, Mexican authorities put out a warrant for femicide, which over here would be equivalent to a homicide, that carries 40 to 60 years. They put that warrant out for the woman who was beating Shanquella up in the video, which allegedly was Dejanay. The Mexican government was waiting for Interpol, a red notice to come through.
Okay.
And what that means is a global warrant to extradite the person who's being charged. So no matter where you are, when they have enough evidence to like indict you, they can get you from whatever country with no interference. So obviously, like the FBI was involved and all that other stuff. More details. The next day, Malik shared a post of Dejanay from the year before, like a memory, on October 30th, and that was Dejanay's birthday. The caption he put with that shared post was, "Love you, best friend for life. I got you 100%." If that's not dry snitching, like, I don't know what is. What do you mean? You got her for what?
Yeah, too much of this I don't like. So first off, we got that video posted of her passed out and saying we have our first dead body.
Mm-hmm.
What? And then she's dead. Like there
Yep.
this should be like the simplest case to solve. I don't even understand why this is unsolved.
Well, when they said we got our first dead body, she actually did like fall asleep after drinking and probably like jet lag from flying in and
I don't
stuff. Because
care.
after
It's
that,
still weird.
yeah, like after that, she was posting on her page herself, and then she went skinny dipping and she was walking through the house looking for her friends, and then after that, they got into a fight. The second autopsy that was performed in North Carolina, it was all the way on November 17th, because on November 16th, like the FBI called and asked like a complete autopsy be done again to determine her cause and manner of death. On 11/17, Mecklenburg County, North Carolina Medical Examiner's Office did a full autopsy. They revealed that this young adult female, Shanquella, had only undergone a prior partial autopsy with a sutured frontal scalp. They didn't actually do, like, they only did a minimally invasive autopsy. They didn't actually do, like, a full autopsy the first time. So he noticed that there's, like, abrasions on the right cheek and there's a scleral hemorrhage in the right eye, so a burst blood vessel in her eye. They said that her spine, her whole spine and neck were completely intact. There was no fractured anything. So that part never happened. It was just documented that that's her cause of death. Super weird. That second autopsy came back that the cause of death in this case is undetermined, and that the most significant findings are the hematoma of the forehead, that like pop knot that her dad was talking about, mild cerebral edema, so fluid around the brain, hypoxic ischemic brain injury, and the hematoma on the forehead is consistent with blunt force trauma. Then the hypoxic ischemic changes to the brain are consistent with several hours of survival with inadequate blood flow and oxygen of the brain, which would result in her having that lower level of consciousness where she was not responding to people. And
Right.
so she did the post-mortem blood testing and had like negative toxicology report, and there was no alcohol in her system. But at the time of her death and then the time of like the fight and stuff in the morning, there was a 10.5 hour window. So we don't know if she was already like drinking that morning or if she drank a little bit more after the fight. That's enough time for that alcohol to be metabolized and out of her system. So we don't know if she had alcohol poisoning at all. But we do know that she suffered blunt force trauma. Everything is just super unclear. The timeline is sketchy. They said that they found her 4 hours later laying on the bathroom floor. So, with this second autopsy, and her cause of death being undetermined, the FBI has contacted her parents to say that they don't have enough evidence to charge anybody with a crime, so they're not going to be pressing charges in America.
That's insane to me.
Here's how I feel about it. From a like legal standpoint, I see that with this second autopsy, it very well could be that she drank, it metabolized, and got out of her system. But while she was drunk, she fell, hit her head in the bathroom because that's where they found her. Like that was the blunt force trauma. You know what I mean?
Okay, so but here's what I don't like is if she was asking to go to the hospital, I understand that they said they didn't have the funds for it, but like I still feel like her friends failed her majorly in getting her any help.
They normally travel, like that's a thing that they do. So why wouldn't they have travelers insurance, and why wouldn't they have emergency money put aside? I don't know. I
I
don't. I
mean,
don't really travel that
I
much.
travel a lot. We don't ever get travelers insurance. I mean, I guess it's
Yeah,
different
but if
because we
you
don't
left the
go out of the
country,
country, but
right?
I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want the added expense. Maybe they really didn't have that much money. I mean, as college students, like
Yeah.
I don't know. And I feel like a lot of people go to like Mexico and stuff because it's just a cheaper vacation. Man, I feel like at least somebody should have been charged with like, I don't know, negligent homicide, something. Like you didn't even attempt to really get her any help.
Yeah,
And
that's
then it's like
true.
they just seemed kind of cold about it. Like, was anybody really broken up, distraught, anything?
Because it went viral, people want to see like justice for Shanquella. And so even if Mexico was like, well, this was really negligent, she could have been saved at the hospital, and they give like, I don't know about Mexico law, but I'm saying if they have like a manslaughter or negligent homicide and it didn't carry like the full sentence, but people based off that video of the fight want to see somebody charged with murdering her because they feel like it was a setup. Because how did it happen so quickly? I'm just thinking as Dejanay, which is allegedly the woman who was in the video fighting her, and she wasn't fighting back. You know what I mean? First of all, that's a violation. Second of all, you're not in your home country. I feel like everybody pretty much knows if you travel or not. When you go out of the country, you need to behave yourself because laws are different, jail systems are different. Like it's like a fear of people to get locked up in another country. Even if she wasn't thinking like that, who is gonna fight a day before their birthday? Like, why are you in Mexico where it's sunny in this big beautiful villa,
Right, what is
and you
there to
guys are
fight
just,
about? You should be having a blast.
yeah, like why are you even in that kind of mindset to fight your friend that you just left the country with? That's super weird to me. It gives me like undercover hater vibes. I will say that recently on Twitter a video went viral in a parking lot somewhere. The caption was that the people who are responsible for this, like two or three of them got caught and got jumped by people. So people are out here delivering street justice for the situation because everybody's pissed off that nobody's getting charged with this murder. What it looks like.
Right.
But we can't really call it a homicide because she could have very well been drinking, hit her head, and that be the reason that she died. Like the fight might not have anything to do with it. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you fall, you can get some pretty ugly injuries, but
Yeah, would she do fall off a balcony though?
right, like a broken blood vessel in her eye, abrasions on her cheek,
I mean, broken
a
blood
busted
vessels in
lip,
her eye, maybe she was vomiting. A lot of people that happens to a lot of people whenever they vomit.
and then the hematoma. I don't know. I just feel like traveling or not, when we're around people who are drinking, we have an obligation, especially if you're an adult, and you know this even if you're a young adult. Everybody underage at the age where you start drinking has at least has friends that have tried to drink. You know what I mean?
Right.
You see stuff on social media about how alcohol affects you. We all have an obligation to make sure that people around us who are fighting don't take it too far.
That's absolutely true. I mean, you get a group of people together that are drunk, things get out of hand, but like everyone's an adult. I feel like everyone should know better. Someone had to have been more sober
No,
than
this,
someone else.
yeah, it happened at 7 in the morning. Like,
Right.
what could she have done that pissed you off that bad? That's super
I mean,
weird.
I wake up in a bad mood, but Jesus, I'm not swinging right away.
Yeah, but if you've been looking forward to a trip with your friends for your birthday, like it'd be your birthday if you were Dejanay, because her birthday was the next
Yeah, I'm
day.
not
Like,
fighting
what?
anyone. I'm doing me. You guys want to be lame? Stay back
Yeah.
here. I'm gonna go off and have a good time.
But that's the whole thing from her posts on Facebook. She wasn't the lame one. She was the one like, come on, let's go skinny dipping, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. She trusted these people, knew them. She'd even traveled with Khalil before, so like the family trusted him because they were always together. She met these people through you. Khalil, you had the most obligation to step in and intervene because those were your friends. So
Man, I'd be filing civil suits. I'd be suing someone for wrongful death or some shit. I'd one way or another, I'd be getting justice because you know someone knows exactly what happened and they're not saying anything because they want to cover their own asses or cover their friends' asses. But how are you going to sit in her parents' faces and just simply act like it was alcohol poisoning, like you didn't do anything wrong? Like that's disgusting to me. How much of a narcissist are you that you can sit there and just lie to a victim's family members and act like you didn't have anything to do with it or you didn't see nothing?
yeah, and they're all sticking to the same story. And I think in January of this year, the FBI questioned them too, and they're all sticking to that lie. Like if you already knew as the FBI people, right? If you already knew that they lied and said it was alcohol poisoning to the Mexican authorities, to the parents, blah, 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 and said she fell, but then a fight video surfaced like days
Mm-hmm.
later, isn't that enough to be like, okay, well, the things you're saying aren't very credible because you've already lied?
Right.
So, I mean, maybe they have to lie to the FBI and then they find an error in their lies, but everyone's sticking together. I would be scared if I was the other people involved, especially like I could see if Nazir really just flew in and had no idea what happened and they're lying to him too. But Winter, Elise, what are you doing? You were there. You're an accomplice to a murder
Right.
in another country. It doesn't scare you. Khalil is disgusting. Fuck you. You were her quote quote best friend. Her family took you on trips and you recorded her getting beat up by Dejanay while she was naked. She was asshole naked, no clothes on at all. The girl's just fighting her. He said, Quella, can't you fight back or something? Shanquella literally said no. She didn't want to fight. And you
Disgusting.
let it keep happening. She's getting slung all over the place, punched on and all types of shit, and you're just recording it,
Yeah.
antagonizing. You're a
They're
loser.
shitbags.
Fuck
That's
off.
so fucking gross. How can you sit there and call yourself a friend? No, I'm sorry, but I go on a trip with all my friends and some shit like that goes down. I'm sorry, but I'm stepping in, have my friends back, and if you want to get pissed off at me, that's fine. We'll catch the next flight. I don't give a damn.
Exactly.
Ugh,
Exactly.
God. Stand up for what's right. How hard is it?
Dejanay's the one who was fighting her in the video, so to me, like the prime suspect would be Dejanay, and then Khalil was literally right there recording, and then Malik shared that Facebook post saying, "I got you for life, love you," or no, love you for life. I got you 100%. You know what I mean? Like to go along with the lies after you posted some shit like that the next day, you thought it was gonna blow over. It's crazy to me that like the FBI, this is the thing about true crime cases, and I feel like the level of authority handling it matters because there's like more resources, it seems, like the higher up you go, like it being an international thing, or I don't know, it's just crazy how like there's, you guys don't see clear as day that something's not right here. For them to call and say like, yeah, there's nothing we can do about it at the FBI level, it has to be so defeating for the parents. And it sucks because that, I'm not sure about her mom, but that was her dad's only child. You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
sad.
Like he was literally like on the interview like crying, trying to hold it together while he explained how she looked in the casket. Like that's devastating. Why would you do that? What could she have done that
Hmm.
wrong to where you had to do that to her? You couldn't just let
I
her be.
agree.
Why can't you just cut her off? I don't know, but I hope that was Dejanay in the video of those people getting jumped. It looked like a man with a beard too, so hopefully it was Khalil. You guys deserve to get jumped every time people see you in public, and you should be completely publicly shamed until somebody talks and gets locked up for it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, something needs to be done. I mean, this doesn't seem like a case that has that many plot holes or anything. Like it I just feel like all the information's there, but nobody feels it's important enough to do anything about it, and that's tragic because the family doesn't feel that way, and we know she didn't die of alcohol poisoning.
Well, that's the thing, we don't know because the first autopsy said that there was little to no alcohol in her system, but the second autopsy, the medical examiner said there enough time had went past to where she could have metabolized and gotten that out of her system. So just off the hypothesis that maybe she was drinking and maybe she had a little too much to drink, fell and hit her head, that's that's why they're not pressing any charges. When it's weird because she has autopsy findings that are consistent with blunt force trauma and a fight video released that same
And
day.
falling and hitting your head is, unless she fell from 6 stories up, I feel like that's not going to be blunt force trauma, and it's not going to be enough to break her spinal cord. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, no, so she never had a broken spinal cord or neck. The second autopsy revealed that that was completely fabricated by Mexico's medical examiner,
Jesus.
that all of that was intact. So there's so many flaws by I don't want to say
Yeah, well, I'm
lazy,
never
but
going to
for lack of a
Mexico if
better word,
healthcare is that bad.
the medical examiner and the doctor who came to the house both disagreed. So if Mexico can't even agree, then when it comes back here, it's like that further complicates things because you've already made errors in that country. And then for us to do some extradition process, you don't even have evidence for whatever you're putting a warrant out
Yep.
for, a femicide. It's so janky and weird, and I wish that they would have just gotten the autopsy correct the first time and said, hey, yeah, she has no alcohol in her system and her neck and back are broken. Something's not right here. That's what they said, but the doctor had a whole different story from the 15 minutes versus hours after the incident occurred.
I feel like that doctor shouldn't have a
So
medical license.
they might not. You
I
never
mean,
know
that's
down there.
true. Jesus. I feel like we
Yeah.
could do a better job
And
than
what,
that.
like, where the fuck are they where their villa this big and nice for international travelers are an hour away from any sort of, like, healthcare? The fuck you riding horseback to get there? Like, why is it taking an hour to get to the villa for anybody? It's weird.
Yeah, that's also a red flag. Like, I feel like those all inclusive resorts should have like an on call doctor or some stuff.
Well, maybe they do, and maybe that's why it took an hour to get there because they could have gotten her to the emergency room faster, but they bumped into that $5,000 hurdle, if that's even the truth. But I have seen things online that say that when you get injured or sick out of the country, like you need traveler's insurance. So
I don't know. I'm not leaving
who
the
knows?
country.
We could sit here and we could talk about the woulda, coulda,
Here's
shouldas,
the
but
thing. We
realistically,
know
like,
that as people get older, they grow out of like their stupid young idiotic ways, they develop a conscience, whatever. At some point one of these people is it's going to weigh heavily on them and they're going to end up speaking. It might take 20 years, but at some point the truth will come out. It might take whoever is responsible to die for someone else to speak up, but at some point, like, I feel like the truth will come out. The truth always comes out.
I don't know. I just feel like I'm gonna look these people up and I'm gonna make a fake number on an app and I'm gonna ask them myself, bitch, what happened?
I don't condone that behavior, but yeah, go ahead, do you?
I might not. Is that called harassment? Is that illegal? Well, if the FBI said they can't do nothing, it's not really interfering with an
Correct,
investigation,
because
is it?
I don't think there is an investigation.
So does the citizens of America have the right to launch our own
Yeah,
investigation?
let's do it.
Because shit's just rubbing me wrong. Like I know people who party and who live that type of like life that go like my friend who goes to Jamaica and Puerto Rico and stuff like that. And her whole friend circle, like even if they're not really friends with me, I'm just acquaintances with them. That none of them would be in the mood to fight the friend that they traveled with. Like even if you got into some altercation at the villa, you're not going to be beating her like that while she's naked and somebody else is recording it. If you get into a little spiff or whatever, people are going to be like, get that shit out of the way and let's
I
go.
feel
Let's
like at the
carry on with our
very
trip.
least, the person that was recording the video of her getting beat up and wasn't at all trying to help her should have been charged with something.
Yeah, like accessory to something. But that's the whole thing. So if you here's how it works in America, and I don't know if this is like an international thing, but when you charge a person with a crime, you can't double back if more evidence comes out in the future and charge them with a
Right.
greater crime. You know what I mean? So if they do charge them with that whatever manslaughter, negligent, whatever, it was an accident, and then Mexico decides that's not even like worth an extradition, that it would cost a lot of money to get you here and keep you in our prison system. You know what I mean? Like there's probably so many like legalities to the story and that just sucks for
It
Shanquella's
really
parents.
does.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a petition for like the feds to get involved again or some shit like that or to reopen the case because they're trying to let it go. I hate cases like this that or cases like the Kiera Coles where it's very
Right.
clear that the man she was pregnant by is more than likely at fault and he's not going to come forward and talk about it for that reason and he moved out of state and so there's nothing that they can do about it so no justice is served or the dude who went to Wisconsin from another state with somebody else's gun and shot all those people during like the BLM. What's his name again?
I have no idea.
No, I'm
No.
talking about that white. He got acquitted of it because it wasn't his gun or some. I don't actually know the details, so I can't talk about it. But it just goes to show you, since there's some sort of loopholes in how the legal system is, that there's nothing they can do about it. And now he's out here giving like motivational speeches and stuff because he was acquitted for he was walking past the police with like I think assault rifles, I'm not sure, and shooting people. He killed them and he got away with it. And then these people, they go on vacation, somebody dies out of the country, they come back, there's nothing they can do because the story's not solid because they're lying. I
I
believe.
definitely believe they
I
are
believe they're
too.
lying. I don't know, man. If something happened to my kid, first of all, whew, I don't even want to imagine it. But then if I tried to do things the right way and get justice for my child, and then they came back and they were like, well, there's not evidence that it was foul play, so we're going to not press charges. Like, oh my gosh, that's so defeating. And it's scary because it was national news. And now you're like pretty much teaching people. I don't even want to say it, but you know where I'm
Yeah, I mean,
going with
hey,
that.
just
It's
leave the
just,
country if you want to commit a crime.
yeah, or even the state, because that other thing with the BLM pro, his name was like
Of
Kyle or
course it
something.
was. Oh, you're talking about in Wisconsin? Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
shitbag.
uh huh. Kyle
Yeah, what a
Rittenhouse,
piece of
that's the
shit that
dude.
kid is.
Yeah,
You
and it
know he
and
was
because
raised
it
by
was
rednecks.
somebody else's. Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
so gross. But it just shows people, okay, well, if you kill someone and it's not your gun,
Which that's
you can't
insanity to me.
charge them.
What? That is
Yeah,
so
because you
beyond
left.
insane.
We'll have to open that shit up
There's
too.
not enough time in the
And
world to open that up.
I was gonna say he's out here like giving political speeches and rallies and stuff. There's
Well, let
something
me
wrong with
borrow
him.
someone's
Like you
gun
were,
and take him out.
I'm gonna chop that out.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna get in trouble for it because it won't be
Yeah.
my gun.
Ah.
Can't do shit to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's too much going on in that story. There's too much going on in this story. I just don't like situations like this where justice isn't served. For Malik to go on Facebook and say, I love you, best friend, got you 1,000% or 100%, like, bitch,
Yep.
got
Yep.
you from what? Because now you're about to get got when we catch you.
Oh, I don't even want friends that'll cover for me if I do something that dirty. Like,
Yeah, what you have to have
oh
something
my
wrong with
god.
you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but when it comes to loyalty, don't expect that from me. You're not taking me down with
Yeah.
you.
You know who you're gonna bring to the table
Yeah,
our next
so
recording, next
we
episode?
are going to talk about the Brianna Maitland case. Um, I had most of it pretty much memorized and then I started diving deep into it and there's so many details that just are not adding up for me. We need to find this girl. Like it's been almost 20 years. I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look over my notes to see for sure, but yeah, this she's out there somewhere, hopefully still alive. Somebody definitely knows something in this case though and we're going to get into it soon.
Can't wait.